you can get started.
I haven't seen Vijay in a while. Hey, Vijay.
I was just going to say we have a special guest today.
He was doing probably the most greatest and important project of his life, right? Successfully completed it. So,
yeah. My daughter was getting married, Rohitji. So I was on that mission. That was my latest project.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's right. Congratulations.
such a wonderful event.
Yeah.
So we will get started. So, Anu, could you please do the invocation?
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu. So, welcome back. We are almost reaching the concluding portion of this wonderful text, Atma Bodha. And I was telling everybody in multiple classes, after Bhagavad Gita, this is one of my favorite book. The reason is the clarity and the number of examples used in this book. Last week, a couple of weeks back, we had a wonderful discussion on Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. And we had a long discussion, a lot of questions, excellent discussion, because these are really advanced concept. And I was just watching the first video we did and where we were in the last week. So our approach, the depth in which we are going, everything has changed a lot. So congratulations to all of you. Excellent questions. So we will continue. So let me ask you, right? What is the topic we have been dealing with right now? Can anybody take a shot? We covered Nidithyasanam. We covered the topic of the benefit of moksha or self-realization. And after that, we started a new topic.
For the knowledge, right?
Absolute reality.
Yeah, knowledge of Brahman, right? So the knowledge of the absolute reality. Tad Brahme iti avatharayet. We heard, right? I told like around 6 verses end up with that expression. You need to understand Brahman like this. You need to realize Brahman like this. You need to establish in Brahman like this. Because Brahman is not an object of your knowledge, but we saw that through the logic of negation, right? So that is where we stopped. Remember last week we had that long discussion about this Arundhati Nakshatra Nyaya. A similar logic is used in Vedanta. Do you remember what is that Arundhati Nakshatra Nyaya? It is, means there was query like what is the ritual significance. We went through that topic in some of the ritualistic practices. The priest will take the bride and groom and try to show them what is this Arundhati Nakshatra. And we said like this is a twin star symbolically representing Vasishta and Arundhati, an ideal couple, a couple who dedicated their life for study and a spiritual life, yet they were really happy in their day-to-day life. They complemented each other well, and they are a model couple. So these stars, these twin stars, represent this Vasishta and Arundhati. And when we means the method, the problem is what? The star is not easily visible. So the priest will take the bride and groom, and then the priest will show them, okay, that means they show them a star, an easily visible star, and tell them what? This is not Arundhati. Then we will say, with respect to that star, there is another star. That is also not Arundhati. Finally, using the logic of negation, he will end up in the Arundhati Nakshatra. So that similar logic is used here. What? He will show that the external world, with its thousands of manifestations, the sun and the moon and the star, everything, plant, animal, and the human, both at the macro level and the micro level, and say that this is not Brahman. Then you'll be shown your own body, and say, then what it negates? No, that is not Brahman. Then your own mind will be shown and said that that is not Brahman. Your own intellect will be shown and say that that is not Brahman. Then what else is left? The awareness or the consciousness. And that is the logic. And this is indicated through the study of the Vedanta. And this Brahman is Akhanda and Advaya. That was the nature, means definition we saw. Akhanda means uninterrupted, and Advaya means one and non-dually one. There is only Brahman. Very complimentary study we have done in the chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita a couple of days back. So this is what it is. And we talked about the two types of manifestations of that Brahman, right? What you see and experience is called apara prakriti, or the immanent nature, which can be touched and seen. And then there is another dimension, which is in a different order of reality, which is called the transcendental portion, or the para prakriti. So we need to understand both, and we need to understand what is Brahman. The Brahman is beyond the world. Remember in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, we spent one day to explain, one day for the immanent nature and another day for the transcendent nature. So this is where we left. Any questions? Or any comments? If not, we can continue. So Anu, if you don't mind, we can start chant from verse 58 to 61. That is the top verses we'll cover today.
Akhandananda rupasya tasyanandakhila tasyanandalavashritaah brahmadyastaratamyena bhavantyanandinokhilaah Akhandanandarupasya tasyanandalavashritaah brahmadyastaratamyena bhavantyanandinokhilaah tadyuktamakhilam vastu vyavaharasthadanvitah Tasmat sarvagatam brahma kshire sarpirivakhile ananvasthulamahtasvam adirghamajamavyayam arupagunavarnakhyam tadbrahmetyavadharayet ananvasthulamahtasvam adirghamajamavyayam arupagunavarnakhyam tadbrahmetyavadharayet yadbhasa यद्भासा भास्यतेऽर्कादि भास्यैर्यत्तु न भास्यते येन सर्वमिदं भाति तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत् यद्भासा भास्यतेऽर्कादि भास्यैर्यत्तु न भास्यते येन सर्वमिदं भाति तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्.
Thank you, Anu. So let's come to verse 58 one more time. Could you chant this verse one more time? Yeah.
अखण्डानन्दरूपस्य तस्यानन्दलवाश्रिताः ब्रह्माद्यस्तारतम्येन भवन्त्यानन्दिनोऽखिलाः.
Okay. So let's try to understand this verses because we can cover four. Means we grounded ourselves into this idea pretty much. And through finite words, the infinite is indicated. Please understand that words are not adequate to describe Brahman. You cannot describe infinite through finite words. So what you can do is only indicate pointers pointing to one view, but that view is not complete. So this is the approach used in these verses. So we have seen multiple views of Brahman, hoping that it is going to give us some idea. And with this idea, when you go back and do the Mananam and Nidithyasanam, this idea become our habitual thinking, because usually our habitual thinking is what? I am the body. So that change will happen. We spend a lot of time on that topic. So we are going to see what exactly is talked here. So this particular verse is talking about the Anandam. Anandam is contentment. It is not bliss. So each one of us have happiness. Each one of us experiences happiness. But that happiness is always limited. So this verse talks about a relative scale of happiness. So this idea is borrowed from Taittiriya Upanishad. So in Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a verse which talks about the relative scale of happiness. There we can use the term bliss or happiness. I'll explain why. So let me just give a very high level view because it's a long description, but let's say what the Upanishad does is it takes the, because when you get some external possessions or power, typically people feel happy, isn't it? When you get a promotion, you feel happy. When you get some money, you feel happy. When you're healthy, you feel happy. So that is always the case. But the problem is this happiness is not everlasting happiness or finite happiness. So the Upanishad tells a healthy, young human being, if he is relatively successful in all his endeavor, if he is healthy, if he is relatively successful in all his endeavor, his social relationship is good, and usually a good life. Let's define that unit of happiness is 1 unit of happiness. Then it will say that, okay, If that is an ordinary person, the happiness of a king would be 100 times. Then the Upanishad says, if the happiness of that king is 100 times, happiness means what he perceives, then it goes to the happiness of a Deva. Deva means a celestial being. It is 100 times of that. Then it tells like Brahmaji, the creator, he is all powerful. Even Indra is under his control. His lifespan is much longer. He don't have to worry about the diseases, nothing. His happiness is 100 times more than that. So this is a relative scale. So then the Rishi tells that happiness, imagine the happiness of Brahma is nothing. That happiness of Brahmaji, meaning it's not the happiness of Brahmaji, but it is the happiness that position can give to an ordinary individual. Let's be very clear. That is nothing compared to the happiness one may get by realizing the Brahman. That's all. That is the whole idea. There is nothing more you need than the real means the happiness you realizing the Brahman. This is the idea. And that idea is brought into this verse. So this verse says, Akhandananda Rupasya. What is the nature of the Brahman? Akhanda, meaning Akhanda means what? Undivided. Ananda, meaning contentment. So the experience of a person who knows Brahman, his nature is Akhandananda, uninterrupted happiness. Understand that word. Let's say that somebody becomes the president of the country or the CEO of a company. Definitely he feels so happy and elevated. But as the time goes, what is going to happen? Is that happiness is going to sustain like that? Yesterday somebody was talking to me. He said, if I get my green card, I'll be so happy. Do you remember getting your green card? Were you happy at that time?
Yes.
And is that sustainable now?
No,
Or is that taken for granted?
it is taken for granted.
That happiness is gone. So Swami Dayananda always used to say, he tells the worldly life is what? Converting luxuries into necessities. When you got your first Maruti car, you were so happy. Imagine there is no AC in that car. Nothing. You are so happy. But now, if the AC is slightly gone, you're not happy. So whatever external possessions we have, even if it is the position of Indra, even if it is the position of Brahma, that will come to an end. That is not Akhandanandam. It is finite. Even Brahmaji, we saw that in the chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. Even Brahmaji has to leave the world. Every human being, every celestial being, anything you get by acquiring and possessing, that happiness is finite. But whereas the happiness or the contentment you generate by knowing the Brahman is infinite. The word used is Akhandananda Rupasya. The nature of the Brahman is Akhanda Ananda, uninterrupted happiness. Tattvananda Lavashritaha. Compared to that happiness, Everything else is a particle only. And what is that particle? Brahmadya taratamyena bhavanti anantino akhilam. Compared to that happiness, by realizing the Brahman, the happiness of Brahma Adi. Here Brahma means it is not the Brahman, the reality. Here Mr. Brahma, Brahmaji. The happiness you can get by getting the position of a Brahma or a celestial being is nothing compared to this Ananda, which is Akhanda Ananda, uninterrupted happiness. So understand that is what is Brahman. This is another point of view of that Brahman. Remember, the whole discussion is based upon that three aspects of Brahman: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So this verse is focusing on that Ananda. Ananda means it is the contentment or the happiness that is not dependent upon anything external. Whereas the bliss, the typical word, English word bliss, refers to an experience of your mind. And typically that experience of my mind is dependent upon some external object or an internal thought. Promotion makes me happy. Why I got that experience in my mind? Because of the promotion. Over a period of time, what happens? That promotion becomes normal or taken for granted. It becomes a necessity. Then that won't give me any more happiness. It is lack of that may create me a problem, right? But it's become a hygienic factor, not a factor of excitement. That's it. But once you reach Brahman, it is very, very means then thereafterwards you are contented. If you haven't watched, Swami Tadatmananda published 2 videos last week. I believe that the video is known as Journey of Realization. I'll post those videos. Somebody can post the videos to this group. Please watch that video. This video talks about this happiness. So this, please watch it. It is very interesting. So in that video, Swamiji tells, right, a person, a master was, when somebody got realized, somebody asked, hey master, what did you do different? So he said, earlier I used to take water, carry water and cut the trees or cut the wood. Now also I do that. So his physical action, his physical interaction, everything remains the same. But his inner composure had completely changed. He got that uninterrupted happiness. That's what. That video is so beautiful because it is a lot of musics and a lot of visuals. So please watch those 2 videos. This video talk about this journey of self-realization. That's very important. And in that video, there are some brilliant examples given. Suppose you go to a casino, right? When, means, I think I'm just going to paraphrase or you quote exact words of Swamiji. Swamiji was telling, like, when the stake of life is high, what is going to happen? Stress is natural. So he was citing an example. When you play a poker game, if the stake is say 10 cents or maybe $1, everybody used to enjoy the game. Suppose the stake is increased to say $1,000. Instead of enjoying the game, what is going to happen? You're worried. The game becomes a stressful event. So when the stake of life becomes very high, what is going to happen? You're not enjoying the life. You're worried. So what happens at the time of self-realization? That is the difference. So he uses a brilliant example. Let's say that Bill Gates, if he loses, say, $1 million, is that going to bother him? Nothing. So like that, a self-realized master, the joy he has internally, or nothing in the world can shake that abundant joy and peace he carries. So that is the difference. And that abundant joy one can experience only by connecting with the Brahman. This is another point of view. Any questions or comments?
Rajesh, when we say the stake of life is high, can you give an example?
For example, I'll talk about myself, right? So for me, maybe my job is so important. So any threat for that job or any threat to my health, it becomes a huge issue for me. So what happens? I'm always worried and anxious about that. So what happens? If I'm like that, I may not be able to live my life naturally, freely, happily. I'm always worried. Have you seen parents who are obsessed about their kids?
Yeah.
Are they enjoying the life with the kids?
No.
I know one person, very personally know, 24/7 worried. If there is nothing, she will manufacture something. See, that is where the Karma Yoga comes to the picture. You do your best and leave rest to that intelligence of the God. Nothing will happen unnecessarily. So once you have that faith in the God, Ishwararpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi, you will get an inner freedom, because right now I don't have a breathing space to enjoy the life. See, anything can happen to the life. So if I'm not, every moment you live, and we talked about this even in the Gita class, right? You need to enjoy. Please don't postpone your enjoyment towards retirement. Every day, enjoy your life. Remember the two magic word Krishna said? Relationship has to be active and engaging. Try to give something to the relationship. And I'll tell you, if you try to take the position of a giver in that relationship, automatically the other person cannot but respond. So this is very important. And see, the two aspects. One is our goal of life is to know this truth. Whatever you are, whatever you do in a dream, means remember this Swapna Drishtanta, we talked about this a lot. Even if you win a lottery, even if you become the CEO of a company, or forget it, even if you become the Lord of the universe in the dream, what is the scope of that power? Remember, we had long discussion on this topic. The scope of that power, the scope of that joy is only in the dream space and dream time. So while I live in the dream, how can I put an end to all my sufferings of the dream? By knowing my true identity. When you realize that, yes, I am in the dream right now, I'm constrained by the dream space and the dream time, right? I'm constrained by the dream space and the dream time, and I need to live my life here. And the experiences of the dream space and dream time is relatively real to me while I am in the dream. But the only way for me to get out of that problem is knowing my true nature. So when the dream becomes a lucid dream, if I'm infected with a disease, I will still go to a dream hospital, but still I'm not worried. Even if I die, even if I know that I'm going to die, I'm not worried. So like that, this body and the mind is not you. This body and the mind is the instruments given to me to express myself in this waking world and the waking world with the space and time, then it's okay. I need to live my life here, but I do have an identity beyond that. That is the basic thing. And once you know that, how do you live your life here in the most effective manner? That's where the Karma Yoga comes into picture. So Karma Yoga is designed for the imminent part of the world, whereas the moksha is knowing the transcendent aspect. Remember, we are trying to build that idea in a step-by-step manner. But while I'm in the dream world, I don't know anything about the transcendent nature of myself, because these are two orders of reality. So what is the lifestyle given to me while I'm in the dream world? It is Karma Yoga. Is it clear? We had this discussion multiple times. Good. So let's continue. 59.
तद्युक्तमखिलं वस्तु व्यवहारस्तदन्वितः तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्मा क्षीरे सर्पिरिवाखिले.
Another point of view of the Brahman, the reality. He tells Tat Yuktam Akhilam Vastu. So Yuktam means it is perverted by that. Tat Yuktam Akhilam Vastu. The entire universe is perverted by Brahman, the reality. See, we are talking about the absolute reality now. So the entire universe is pervaded by that absolute reality. We had this discussion multiple times. So I'll just refer to that point and go away. Swapna Drishtanda. I'm in the dream world. Let's go back to the same example we have been using for the past few weeks. Gangotri. I'm sitting in Gangotri. Looking around, I see Himalayas. I see ashrams. I see Ganga. I see clear sky. I see sun and the moon and the star. Where exactly this universe exists?
The dream world.
In my mind, right?
Yeah.
What exactly is the material by which these objects are made?
Your mind?
My mind stuff.
My mind.
So when I see the Himalayas, when I see the Ganga, when I see the other people, and when I see the moon and the star, what exactly is that moon? My mind stuff. What exactly is that Himalayas? Again, my mind stuff. What exactly is the other people I see? Again, my mind stuff. So can I say that my mind stuff perverts the entire dream world I'm experiencing? Correct? Exactly like that. The entire world is pervaded by Brahman. Right? We talked about this in the Maya Tadamidam Sarvam Jagada Vyakta Murtina. Remember? Maya Tadamidam Sarvam Jagada Vyakta Murtina Mastani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshavastita. And then he tells Nachamastani Bhutani. Remember that whole discussion? So like that. So the entire world is pervaded by Brahman. How? Jagad Avyakta Murtinam, in an unmanifested form. When I see the Ganga, I don't think that it is my mind stuff. But practically speaking, it is my mind stuff. So that is exactly what the words here. Tat yuktam akhilam vastu vyavaharam tadannita. All the transactions in that world, all the transaction. Let's say that the moon is moving from left to right and there is a landslide in the Himalaya, Ganga is flowing, everything is happening because it is supported by my mind stuff. Like that, every transaction in the world is possible just because it is pervaded by Brahman. Remember, we talked about this in the Gita class multiple times, so I'm not going that. So we are saying that the entire universe, there is an Adhisthana or an Adhara. And that Adhisthana or Adhara is Brahman, the reality. And we talked about one school of philosophy which don't believe in this. Remember that? Shunyavada. What is Shunyavada? You see relative world, but there is no absolute substratum behind that relative world. This was the point. This is the point of view of certain schools of Buddhism, and that is what is called Shunyavada. That is the difference. Again, I would say there are two lectures. One is Swami Tadatmananda again. He put a video called Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta. You can watch that. It is exact same idea is referred. Swami Sarvapriyananda ji also had a beautiful talk on the same subject. So this is the difference. And then one example is Tasmat Sarvagadam Brahma. So everything you see is Brahman. If you think about this dream analogy or the Swapna Drishtanda, it becomes so clear. It becomes so clear. The Himalayas is my mind stuff. Myself is my mind stuff. My body is my mind stuff. The sun and the moon and the star is my mind stuff. And the Ganga is my mind stuff. Tasmat Sarvagadam Brahma. Everything you see is Brahman. Remember the other day when we studied Bhagavad Gita, we said, when you worship sun, you're not worshipping the sun. You're worshipping this God in the form of sun. You're not worshipping that mass giant ball of gas. But it's an expression. Remember in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna made this point very clear. You may not be able to see me in my transcendental nature, para prakriti, but the apara prakriti, you cannot miss it. Rasohamastu kaunteya, prabhasmi shishurayu, pranava sarvavedeshu, shabdakham paurushe nrishu. Remember that verses? And the wetness of the water. When the water has a property called wetness, it is me. When you see the light in the sun, that light in sun is me. You cannot miss me. And in the Vibhuti Yoga, there is a chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He tells wherever you see the glory in the universe, you can recognize me. That's what it is. Everything is Brahman. Tasmat Sarvagadam Brahman. Then he gives another example, the Atma Bodha style. He tells, Kshire Sarpiri Eva Akhile. Eva Akhile. So Jiram means what? Milk. Sarpiri means what? It is the butter or the fat. So the fat in the whole milk. If you look at the milk, you don't see the butter. But you know that the milk has butter. So like that, Brahman is there in the entire world. But mind you, examples are examples. It should be taken as example. Every example, I always highlight that. What is the beauty of this example? What Shankaracharya is trying to say that obviously this Brahman is not visible, but it is already there. So that is why butter in the milk. But if you remove the butter from the milk, there is some leftover. But if you remove Brahman from the world, nothing exists. So that is the problem of this example. So your example has to be used in the appropriate context. Otherwise, it can confuse you. So just keep that in mind. So once again, this verse tells Brahman is everywhere. Everything is pervaded by Brahman. And the whole world is nothing but the manifestation of Brahman. It is just like the fat contained in the whole milk. I added the word whole milk because when Shankaracharya's time, every milk was whole milk. Okay.
Rajesh, one question.
Yeah.
We don't see much explanation on, for example, if this is the Adhisthana, the explaining it in terms of, okay, fabric, the cloth is made of fabric, the line, the cellulose and atoms, and finally it is the Brahman. That kind of explanation, you don't see much. But in reality, you can go like top down also, right?
Yeah, you can go top down also. Means that type of explanation is there in a lot of scriptures. It is there.
It is.
Yeah, the pot and the clay, kind of that example, because the Adhisthana of the pot is clay. And even means the exact same example is there. In Panchadashi, it is there. In Bhagavad Gita, it is coming. When you go down, what it means, the top-down approach is there. Both bottom-up and top-down is multiple places it is there.
Okay.
Okay. Vijay, this is a favorite topic of yours. So you want to add any comments here on this Adhisthana and the all-pervading reality?
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like a fantastic story. It's like in a Bahubali movie watching, when we tell this whole story to the, and going back to like a 15 years ago. So it's like, I'm separate, then my minds tend to take an objective look at the rest of the world, that is. It's almost impossible to grasp with our mind, that is, right? How do I think that is all pervading and including my mind is also inside it, that is. Right? So, that's the challenge to, as you mentioned, that is, so you can take it to a certain distance, then, but one has to take the quantum jump beyond that, right? Beyond that, it's very difficult to say that. And what is the process that makes this quantum jump possible, that is, right? This disclaimer is there in the first word itself, that is, there is a disclaimer. So what is that? Shantanam vitaraginam, mumukshunam apekshoyam, Atma Bodho vidhiyate, right? Until then, it sounds like a nice abstract story, this is. Right? That preparedness is something that we need to really stress and stress and stress. You can never, overstress this, actually, that.
Right. And that is why when Arjuna was asking, let me go and contemplate, Krishna said, no, you go and do yoga.
Yeah.
Because without that chitta shuddhi and chitta sthiti, this is only theory.
Yeah. For our audience, I can see that, every one of us, like, so much interest, every Thursday come here, do that, right? But without that preparedness, this is like a mind candy. Swami Sarananda used to say that this is the mind candy. Intellectual appeal is a beautiful intellectual appeal. This is. It feels really, really good, and that's it pretty much. And we're going to go back to our work again after this class. That's not what should be happening, that, right? So this is where we need to emphasize on the preparedness, right? So that vitaraginam is the one I would like to stress that one. Right.
Excellent. So let's go to the next verse then.
So Rajesh, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So in the earlier sloka, when we are referring to Akhanda, you are referring to the Brahman itself, or someone, and in addition to Brahman, is it also like someone like a Jivan Mukta as well, as the Akhanda Ananda?
Right. So it's a good question, right? So a Jivan Mukta, what is his identity?
Yeah, he identifies with the Brahman.
Brahman, right? So when he identifies with Brahman, the Akhandanandam of the Brahman he experiences.
Yeah, but he won't. But will he be continuously identifying with the Brahman?
Absolutely, because it is, otherwise it is not a Jivan Mukti, it is only a Nimisha Samadhi, right? A Jivan Mukta, once you get it, you got it. So second chapter of the Gita, last verse. Tasma means Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyate. Once you get it, you got it. Say the 10th man story, Ratnadar. When the 10th man realizes that he is the 10th man, is he going to worry about the missing person ever again in that context?
No, never. Yeah.
That's what it is. Once you know that you are this, and once you realize, once the dream becomes a lucid dream, are you worried about the corona in the dream?
No.
Or are you overexcited with the lottery you won in the dream?
No.
That's it. Once you get identified with the truth, you are that.
Okay.
So next verse is again a paraphrase of the famous conversation. I think it is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yajnavalkya and Gargi. In that conversation, this comes. And that is exactly what is being paraphrased here by Shankaracharya. So let's listen to the verse.
Ananvasthoolamahrasvam adidghamachamapyayam arupagunavarnakhyam tadbrahmetyavadharayet.
Look at the verse. Tad brahme iti avadharayet. So he tells, this is it's a complicated Sanskrit word. So he tells, ana a anu, anannu. So anu means what?
Atom.
Atom. Anu means what? Anu means smallest. What is the definition of the atom? Literally, it means smallest particle. Anu means
Not small.
not the smallest. Then he tells astulam. Stulam means gross. Astulam means
Not gross.
not gross. Ahraswam. Hraswam means short. Ahraswam means
Long.
not small, short. And then what? Then if it is not short, you think that what? It is long. So then he negates that. Dirgham. All words of negation. Dirgham means what? Long.
Long.
Adirgham means
Short.
no,
Adhikam means short.
It's not long.
not long. There is a
Not
difference.
Okay.
So he tells it is not short, neither short nor long, neither small nor big, neither gross nor subtle.
The reason why it is described like that is when you say long, there is it's long only in comparison to something, that is.
Right.
We say long or short. That's what he wants to negate that.
Yeah. Then the next thing is ajam. Jam means jayate, born. Ajam means not born. Vyayam means changing. Avyayam means
Not changing.
not changing. Rupam means one with a form. Arupam means
No form.
no form. Then so it's a compound word. He tells arupa, aguna, avarna, avyayam. So it is guna means one with attribute. Aguna means what? One with no attributes. Then varna means what? Color or temperaments. One with no temperaments. Avyayam or
Varnakyam.
Akyam. Akyam means what? One is describable, indescribable. Tad brahme iti avadharayet. Very interesting words, words of contradiction. Neither small nor short. It's long. Neither subtle nor gross. Think through this. One way of explaining, there are multiple ways of explaining. One way is what Vijay said. The comparison is always possible with respect to something else. Here, there is nothing to compare. Second point is, this comparison is possible in which order of reality? Relative or absolute?
Relative.
Relative.
And what is Brahman?
Absolute. Oh.
Yeah. When you go to that absolute reality, when you change the order of reality, there is no comparison. So that is what is indicated. So the absolute order of reality, Paramarthika Satyam, from that absolute perspective, there is nothing. There is no sun, there is no moon, there is no star. There is no gross, there is no subtle. There is nothing. Everything is only Brahman, the reality. So go back to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 4 and 5. From an immanent perspective, he said, Maya tadamidam sarvam, jagad avyakta murtina, mastani sarva bhutani. Then verse 9 from the absolute perspective, what he tells? Mastani sarva bhutani is used from the immanent perspective or the relative order of reality. When it comes to the absolute order, nacha mastani bhutani. Nothing exists in me. And when you go to the relative world, everything exists in me. It's not the word of contradiction, but it is, if you don't understand this order of reality, you will not understand anything.
Yes, yeah.
If you go to the absolute perspective, there is no attributes, there is nothing. But when you go to the relative, everything is there. So that's why the language of negation is used. Beautiful.
But we don't know that absolute reality. If they talk about that, how will we understand?
Right. That is, see, that is the whole idea, right? You are trying, means what is the, means you are using the logic of negation. Go back to the basics. The basic is what? Your goal is to know that absolute reality. But where exactly you are sitting now? In the immanent world. You are sitting in a dream, and somebody in the dream is telling that, okay, the Ishvara is lying in the bed. I'm just making it up. No way for you to understand. Only way to understand is you have to live a life with, means that is why Vijay was emphasizing the need of that practice. That the first two words, go back to the first two words. Tapopir China Papana, that verse. Yeah. Vitaragina Mokshunam Apekshoyam Atma Bodho Vidhiyate. Right? So that's what it is. You need to make sure that your mind is pure, your mind is stable. That is the preparedness, Antakarana Shuddhi. Once you get, for that, what you have to do? You have to do the Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. And once you gain there, this knowledge will give you that knowledge. And you have to do, the Shravanam will give you an indication. Mananam will remove the doubt. Remember the 10, almost 7-8 verses we saw? Nididhyasanam. What is this? What is the role of Nididhyasanam there? Remove the Viparita.
Habitual thinking. Yeah, habitual thinking.
Habitual thinking. So this is the process. So right now, imagine in that Gangotri, we are sitting in an ashram and somebody is telling you that there is an absolute reality. That is, somebody is lying in the bed. That's it. It's somebody's mind. It's only a theoretical knowledge now. But it can be experienced.
Yeah. I think what you said is that Rajesh, that before and after enlightenment, you continue to cut trees and then water the plants. It's the same thing. There's no difference, there, right? Then what is this? A whole thing is gonna get us that. What is the whole process? It's beautiful said, actually. He said that I think I heard in Swarupananda said, I guess, one of the talks. He said, Praptasya prapti, nivrittasya nivritti, basically. So praptasya prapti means whatever you originally are, you will get back that one. And then whatever you're not will go away. Nivrittasya nivritti, that is. Beautifully said that. Praptasya prapti, that means whatever you had possessed already, you will get that one now. Right? And the nivrittasya nivritti. Whatever you're thinking you're not, that will go away.
Yeah. Okay. So now we covered up to verse 60. So we have 8 more verses. In 2 days we can cover this text, and then we can break for summer. But please contemplate upon this scripture, because this is very important. And if we need to study Upanishad, this level of details we need. So next verse is brilliant. It talks about the point that, see, you see light in the sun. You think that sun is self-shining. The moon is self-shining, meaning at least pradip means one is called pratibha and the pradibimba, right? In the 7 chapters in Rajari Talmud. So, in fact, know that the sun and the light in the sun and the moon and the star, even the electric light and everything, it is coming from Brahman. The only real self-shining thing is Brahman. And I wanted to talk about the arati you do in the temple. When the priest does the arati or the Deeparadhana, what did he chant? I wrote that mantra. Means next week we'll talk about that in detail.
Natatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam.
Yeah. Natatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. Nema vibhrito bhanti kutoyamasti tvameva bhantam anumadi sarvam tat phasa sarvamidam vibha. We will explain that. But what means, have you ever thought what is the concept of that arati? So, see, you have to understand the context. In olden days, it was only oil lamp in the temple. So when you go to the temple, even the sanctum sanctorium is kept in such a way that, especially in South India, I don't know how, in North it is slightly different. But in South India, the sanctum sanctorium, I know that in Kerala it is exactly like that. It's dark.
Garbhagudi, yes.
Yeah, the Garbhagraha is very dark.
Yeah.
And when the priest, what he does is, he uses a very powerful light, a camphor. And then with that camphor, he will show all the part of the God. And while showing that, right, he chants this mantra. Right? He tells the light of the sun is God. Sun cannot eliminate you. The moon cannot eliminate you. Vidyut, the lightning cannot eliminate you. Then what about this small lamp? I'm trying to show you to the public, but it's a very subtle statement. What to talk about the small fire I show you? I'm trying to reveal you to the people, but it is impossible. How many people realize that the power of that one chanting at that time?
Rajesh ji, what slokam is that? What slokam is that?
Natatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam.
From where? From where?
It's a standard prayer these priests chant.
Natatra suryo bhati.
Yeah.
Can you tell?
Na tatra suryo bhati.
Next week I'll go line by line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
The next verse is pretty much limited. I wanted to connect to that verse, but I was just joking. Like, this is what the priests chant.
Interesting. Nice. Nice.
It's very interesting. These prayers are very powerful. I'll show you a book. This book. If you don't have this, just read this book.
What's the name of this?
It's a book called Prayer Guide.
Prayer
Yeah.
guide.
Vedic prayers with the meaning. I was just reading this book the other day and I came across this mantra and I was surprised. Oh my God, beautiful mantra.
Where do we get that book from?
This is Arshavidya Gurukulam. You can
That's what I thought.
buy.
Dayananda Saraswati.
Prayer guide.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a prayer guide. It's a beautiful book. It talks about the significance of all these prayers.
It's from the Katha Upanishad.
Yeah, this mantra is from the Katha Upanishad.
Kathopanishad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even another Upanishad has a very similar mantra. This is a standard Vedic prayer, but the priest, all the priests chant. But the literal meaning is this: your means the light of the sun is you. The light of the whole light, you are the source. Sun cannot illumine you. You are illumining sun. You are illumining the moon. You are illumining the lightning. Then kutoha magni. How can this small light, the fire, can illuminate you? But I'm trying.
Do you think priests understand the prayers?
I'm sure they, without that, how will they? They're supposed to learn all this and come to work in the temple, right?
Well, the thing is that how fast they say, you hardly can understand what they say.
Ama, that's what nowadays the Satyanarayana Puja and all that they started explaining because no one understands the mantra, nothing. So it's better to hear the story, even not only the story, the Mani Uncle Yaga Subramaniam, our Guru, he always talks about the significance of Satyanarayana Puja and why they are doing, what is the actual meaning of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Very.
Otherwise, people say this Leelavati Kalavati. I heard so many times this story.
Ama, that's correct.
You know, my kids laugh whenever we read that story. They say, you have to pray to this God, then you get pregnant, you know, things like that. My kids will say, tell them to grow up, mom. What you say? They don't want to believe in it. What do you do?
Yeah, we talked about that in the Gita class, right? So childish understanding. So it's not the problem with the culture, but somehow this is where the decline comes. We'll see in the fourth chapter. We are going to see that in the Sunday. Whatever is the greatest teaching, if the practitioners get corrupted, what is going to happen? The teaching also will get corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
So fourth chapter, Krishna opens with that statement. So what happens? This teaching was there from ancient time. But Krishna tells, I had to reinterpret and reteach now. Because what happened? Mahata kalena yogo nashta parantapaha. That is the word he uses. Over a period of time, this teaching gets corrupted because the practitioners, if they don't do it properly or if they don't teach it properly, it gets corrupted. And that is very common in every religion.
I think a lot of these priests who are trained by either Tirumala Tirupati is good actually, but Chinnajaya Swami, you know, his school, they only just read the Krishna Yajurveda portion and then only the ritualistic portion. They cannot connect to the true meaning of that.
Without the proper Vedanta background,
this
is very difficult because
I talked to a number of priests actually to see the depth is maybe like 20-30% of the priests have the depth. Remaining people are just mainly ritualistic.
That's the problem. And when they talk to the next generation, it won't fly well.
They still question me why Kunti Devi has all these so many questions. Some of those questions you don't even know where to find the answers.
What is it? Wait, what question is that, Radha?
Like Kunti Devi, how come she has all these children? And...
Oh no, that's all. That even we talk in Gita, that story. They give a very good explanation for that.
But what we need to understand is, or tell the kids is, the culture is beyond that. So it's not Kundi's story or Krishna's story. Krishna was born into this. Rama was born into this culture. If you want to go to the source of our culture, it is Vedas, and you go to Vedanta, and there will be sufficient content to satisfy their intellectual quest. The best example is Vijay. He sits in front of us. He was querying left and right about this teaching.
Actually, there is unlimited content, I think, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we took 5 minutes extra. So thanks for that. We'll continue next week. Bonaji, would you mind chanting the
Rajesh, I'm in the car and
okay,
I'm
so
wearing
I will
shoes. Can
yeah.
you please ask Anu
Of
to
course.
do it?
Yeah. No problem.
Because we are stuck in this traffic, 145 exit. I'm here for such a long time. The
God, still
construction
you
is
dialed
going
into
on.
the session. Thanks. So,
We didn't want
lot
to
of
miss
commitment
it.
on your side.
No, because you know why? It's very difficult to get out of the house because the kids don't want us to leave. So we had to hide and we had to get out and get into the car and then log in. That's why it took me 10 minutes to log in. And then, but I didn't want to miss the class.
My
It's something we have started and it's interesting, you know. So I just don't want to. And it's a very typical understanding of the whole thing itself is very difficult. And if I miss one class, then it's even more difficult for me to catch up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anu, could you do the prayer?
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari